Hey guys, what's up? This video I wanted to do on trade I did a while back, a little TY3 cycle trade on Shutterfly. And the reason why I'm doing this now, this is way after the time I actually did the trade, but was I wanted to demonstrate the power of the long-term cycles and the fact that you don't need a lot of money to do this type of trading, especially if you have if you're getting in the right price squeezes. Again, we're always focused on finding stocks with price tension based on cycles. And when you have strong momentum going into those cycles, you oftentimes will get a pretty strong breakout out of the squeeze. So what we're doing is we're trying to identify those. Now this particular trade, the reason why I didn't load up on it was because there had been a couple head fakes prior to this, and I didn't have a high level of confidence in it, so I didn't put a lot of money into it. But as you can see with the numbers I'm going to show you here in a minute, it's quite possible to be in these type of trades, and if you get in the right place and get a little bit out of the money on the options. In fact, I think it was probably $5 to $7 out of the money on the option. So it was what you would call a Wotem trade, way out of the money trade. So let me pause. Yeah, just double check the numbers on that. I did buy the options about $7 out of the money or so a few days before the breakout. I actually had earnings breakout, and again, it was coming out of a long-term TY3 cycle, and again put 158 bucks in, was it five contracts, and ended up being about a 4,100% gain on it. And again, I'm not posting this video to brag on. I just want to show you that you don't need a lot of money when you're focusing on stocks in a price squeeze and being very selective based on the stock having demonstrated prior momentum. So let me go ahead and show you a little bit more about this particular trade so you can kind of get the big picture on how it works. Okay, this again is a TY3 cycle trade. It had a really strong breakout 2009, 2010, actually through mid 2011 too. 10 BMI, VR4. So once it set that pivot, again, a lot of gains to digest. Company was obviously going through some building itself up. So a lot of sideways chop for several years, and we finally got a cycle breakout of that TY3. TY3 cycle was about right in here. Actually went for about a year before it really fully set. But the pullback off of that third set gave me a little inclination that it might actually fall through this particular time when I bought. So it came back down and retested that $40 mark below this. Had a elevated trend line. In hindsight, I probably should have loaded up on a little bit more, but it's easier to see in hindsight. What I didn't like about it is that they had several head fakes trying to break out of that consolidation zone. So I didn't put a whole lot of money in it, but it doesn't take a lot when you get a strong momentum signature on it and real strong breakout of the actual squeeze. So again, TY3 setup, slinky off of the lows, very strong support there at 40 bucks. Let's look at the daily chart on the breakout. And you can see again, I bought the Wotem calls down in here. I was trading about right here, $60, way out of the money, dirt cheap, 30 cents per contract on that. And I basically held it. I think it was a Friday or so. I took it off the table. I actually did get back in. I'll explain that in the next video. It's called a chain trade. But this ended up being a. Let me just show you the numbers on this. Here's a breakdown again, 31 cents per contract in, 158 bucks. This is not the actual gain. This is the end of the month statement on that particular month. This is when I sold it. Sold it for total proceeds 66.83 was the gain. Actually 68.41 was the proceeds minus the $158 cost basis of 100% gain. And again, these are very powerful trades. They don't come along real often, but when they do, they will obviously produce some pretty big gains, especially when a lot of other traders aren't even seeing the setup. So you have kind of a stealth entry. The options are cheap. The option volatility hasn't gone up much yet at that point. Okay, so again, looking at the big picture on this breakout here, the squeeze, coming out of the squeeze, it did about 100% gain over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5 months. And as far as the option trade, again, I got out right here with the attempt to preserve my profits in case we had a deeper pullback. And I ended up doing the second part of this trade. I'll explain in the next video. It's a Sfly chain trade, and you'll see what I did to cut the risk and also decrease the overall gains without risking much more. But as far as the stock itself, as you can see, this is what can happen when you focus on long-term cycles. The TY3 cycle, very powerful one, and especially if you're watching the pullback off of a TY3 cycle trade. Again, a lot of times you get a retest of the 1 to 2 year lows below that. You can see what happened here. Pretty good solid retest and headed back up. Very nice rocket shot off of that. So again, the next video, Sfly chain trade, you'll see what I did with part 2 of the trade.